Hey everybody, my name is Matthew Gibson and welcome to Fusion 360 Tutorials and to the very first episode. First episode today we're going to be talking about sketching because sketching, as some of you may know, is the most important and fundamental part of Fusion 360. It's the start of every project and it has the most to do with how your project's going to look after you start working with it. So over here on my Fusion Autodesk screen, I'm going to point out to you that we have a couple hotkeys right here for creating a sketch, line, and two-point rectangle. Also with a drop-down menu of a bunch of different line, rectangle, circle, arc, polygon. And we're going to get through a bunch of these today just to kind of show you how they mean, what they mean rather. And unless you're going into master's degree engineering or stuff like that, you won't need things like conic curve or extended and trim and stuff like that. So if you're working on smaller projects like designing a shampoo bottle or writing something on a surface or sketching or that kind of thing, you can generally stick to a lot of the stuff that's up here and you'll get what you want out of it. So first things first, we're going to hit create sketch. That's where I like to start because it shows me these three planes. These three planes, essentially these surfaces, are different perspectives. And if you look up to the top right here, you'll see which ones they represent. We have a top, front, and right perspective. And so what Fusion has you do essentially is draw on the bottom of something, meaning if I were to pick the front view, that's this here. And the reason that this is on this side of the cube that you can see here versus this side is because this is essentially the back of it in behind the cube over here. And you'd be drawing on it, and if you chose to extrude, which we'll go over in the next video, it would be moving out towards you and coming towards the front plane. So just for simplicity's sake, we're going to start with the bottom plane, essentially the opposite from the top. And you see, as soon as you hit whatever plane you wanted to work with, you have this giant sketch palette show up. And these are all the constraints that we'll go over in another time. But just for now, we're going to show you how to just draw a couple lines and shapes, and just, different things about that. So you can click this button here to change your tool into this little crosshair looking thingy. And it gives you the line. And the way you draw a line is point to point. Essentially, you just click and drag and move your mouse around and it'll automatically give you the degrees and distance for wherever your point is based off what dimensions you give your Fusion workspace. But something important to note is that there's a couple snap functions depending on what you have your constraints set to, and we'll go over those more in detail later. But so like if you're trying to draw an enclosed shape, you don't have to click directly on this point. It'd be very hard to do because points have no dimensions, but you can hover once you get close enough, see how it snaps there, and you can do that. So just a quick tip there. But yeah, you can just click and drag and you make your polygon and that all works out great. And so what you can do next, if you want something more specific, not just like not drawing like freehand or eyeballing the distance or whatnot. If you want a specific length because you're going to import it to a 3D printer or you're going to turn it into an engineering model or something like that, then what you can do is you click at your starting point, which you can even pick through dimensioning. But then you look here and you see how we have the millimeters number, the mm number highlighted blue. That means that if I go over to my keyboard and decide, I want this 45 millimeters long, and then I hit enter, boom. At whatever angle my cursor was at, it gives me the 45 meters. Something else to know is that if I were to do this again, let's say 45, but I don't hit enter right away, and I hit tab instead, it actually locks the distance and keeps it there for me. So even if I were to move my mouse up and down to try and change it, it won't change. And this is because I've already selected the 45 and now I'm trying to pick an angle. And so I can either pick it by just moving the mouse around and picking a different size. I want an obtuse or an acute angle or 180 degree, whatever works. Or I could, again, because it's blue, I could just type into the highlighted box, I want a 25 degree angle. And there, voila. And so what's really neat is that when you pick dimensions for things, Fusion 360, it'll automatically write it out for you like a diagram. And so you have your 45 here, the 45 there, and the 25 degrees here, 0.0, with a dotted line just showing the angle at which it's operating that line I didn't draw. So yeah, just last thing real quick, if you're looking for any like a circle or a rectangle or shapes like that, let's do one rectangle, one circle. And 2-point rectangle just means you pick one point, you pick the next point, and it makes a rectangle between the 2 points. Circle, these are all different ways to draw the same circle. So let's do 3-point just to show you. And you make your first click, and you see how the circle kind of follows around the other one, because that's the second point is directly across on the diameter, and then the third point tells me how big or how far I want it to go away. So let's pick that, and boom, you have easy access to shapes. And just to clarify, you can still, you see the blue text there, you can still dimension and pick the specific sizes for the rectangle that you want, and it'll give it to you and it'll dimension it out for you. So yeah, that's the quick intro to sketching, and my name is Matthew Gibson. Thanks for tuning in.